All right. Hello, Jesse's here. Going to talk about Torchlight Infinite again. This is sort of a close wrap-up video. I think that Season 2 has been a treat. I've enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it in the past, but I really have leaned into it a little bit. In the absence of another season to play, and a little bit of burnout from too many years of Path of Exile, this has been a really, really welcome change, honestly. There are a lot of problems with it, and I definitely see myself kind of hard capping my interest at this point, probably going to switch and play other things, but the first, couple of weeks of a new game like this really captured my interest. There are some things that I specifically am looking for in a game, ARPGs, and this game satiates it pretty well, all things considered. Maybe not quite as well as Path of Exile, for example, but it's pretty dang close. I wrote some closing thoughts here. I don't have to read these here on screen out loud. They're really just guideposts for me to talk about what this game is and does, but also what it lacks in a holistic and overall sense. One of them, I think that the game still has some bugs. I think the client itself has some problems. Path of Exile, you can get to the point in your progression where you're zooming through maps and exploding monsters on screen via the, life explodes as secondary damage technique, whatever tool you use to clear the screen. You can do that and still move through the map very consistently. It's very smooth, and there's not a lot of, let's say, mechanical hiccups. Here in this game, I still notice all kinds of weird things happen if I'm trying to blast. Sometimes a skill will get caught and be on a loop, on repeat, and I can't figure out how to break out of it. I have to click the keyboard or press something for it to not bug out. Another example is sometimes I can't change direction. If I'm holding down a key, it'll just keep going in the direction no matter where my mouse is. There are a couple of weird hiccups like that, and potentially that's a PC problem, and if I was on mobile, it'd be different, but regardless, it does limit the replayability of the game, and this is a kind of game where you really want it to be as replayable as possible, or otherwise, what are you doing here? There's a feature called auto loot in this game. That's kind of my second point. That you would think that for someone who's trying to casually have fun and just blast, it's perfect. It's amazing. It's great. Well, the problem is it doesn't really work very well. There are times when I'm blasting through a little map and I don't pick up all the loot that I usually would auto loot. It just is left behind. And then I'm torn as to whether or not I should go back and pick stuff up a la Path of Exile, which is a huge inconvenience and pain in the ass, and one of the reasons that Path of Exile is irritating in that respect. Or if I should just finish the map and go to the next one, which probably is always the right choice. But the point is that, what's the point of auto loot if it doesn't work consistently? I don't want to leave a bunch of currency items behind on a pack. Maybe it picks up half of them and it doesn't pick up the other half. The inconsistency irritates the shit out of me. And I think because I paid a small amount of money to this game, I think it gave me the auto loot feature for free, forever. But it's very unclear. Regardless, I think the bigger reason why I'm taking a step back from this game and closing it down is because there's just no community. There's no... I don't have any friends on my friend list, and there's not a way to get friends on the friend list. The only thing that we have is a chat box here on the bottom left that defaults to channel 01 because there's just not enough players here that speak English that are in the Americas server, so that everyone is pooled into the exact same chat room or chat box. But I can't figure out how to get rid of the chat box, first of all, which is annoying. But second of all, that's it. You don't see other you see all these random NPCs that are running back and forth with the little names hovering over them. apparently those are real people that have been logged into the game before, but this isn't them clicking the buttons. This is just a ghost or a shadow of them, as if they were in the same map as you, as if they were in the same town as you. They're not actually there. That's just a player that used to be there at one point, and the game is making you think that you're involved in some town with a bunch of other players. The reality is this is SSF. This is as SSF as anything. You have no communication or contact with any other people, which is kind of sad, you know, because even in Path of Exile SSF, it does feel like there's a lot more, there's a community element there, not just in the way of a guild, but also Path of Exile, I mean, PoE Ninja, having the visibility of all that, of hero ranking system, and then they have the races and depth of delve and all these little tidbits that kind of encourage you to keep going somehow. In this game, there isn't really any reason to keep going except for a non-challenge related progression. It's not like it's a, if you beat this certain boss, you get a reward like you would in Path of Exile. You might get MTX, you might get a pair of wings if you do something. Well, this game doesn't have that. It doesn't have, there's no reward to play this game extra hours and pour in extra hours. There's not, you don't get it. I'm not suggesting that these ARPGs are supposed to get something. I mean, it's supposed to be just fun. The whole reason you play is just for fun. And I can appreciate that, but I'm also an old man and I like to have a pretty tangible carrot at the end of my stick. And I'm repeating and playing these same maps over and over and over and over. And I'm repeating them out for the sake of farming. So I'm trying to get gear, but then I just bought I just crafted and corroded this really, really nice hammer for my ground slam build. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's it. You know, now my build does more damage. And I don't know, it feels a little bit different in Path of Exile, because at the very least, Path of Exile, I see a ton of YouTube videos come out about it, and there's this whole wiki and this plethora of different builds to try, and there's just so much availability, not by way of the game being painless. The game is a huge pain, but just by way of information and community and presence, and just the, you know, you can almost feel the amount of American players, you know, the US presence, and even not even US, English speaking players. You can feel the presence of those players. Yeah, and the MTX, I guess, is also a motivating factor if you're into that. This game doesn't really have that. I am finding that the hero ranking is super meaningless. The damage numbers don't mean anything. The tooltips don't mean anything. And also from a build researching standpoint, it's a huge pain to research builds. I mean, Path of Exile has a problem with PoE Ninja. Huge problem, where the level 100 cap, first players to get to level 100, and then they can do whatever the hell they want. And there is no other way to research builds besides going to that site and seeing in aggregate what a bunch of people are using. And a lot of people are like, no, you just play the game for fun. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm an old man. At this point, I'm playing the game for something else. Okay, I don't have fun anymore. None of us have fun anymore. Welcome to 2023. If you're playing an RPG, you're doing it for some other reason. You're doing it to give yourself some type of purpose. You want to get power. You want to have something there. And yes, it's fun, but like the word fun, you think of it as like a child on Christmas Day eating a bunch of candy and getting hyper and like having fun, you know, playing with toys. This is not, I don't think that that's the audience. If you want to play a fun game, you can play like, I don't know, one of these Super Monkey Ball games that's like a kid game that has a lot more excitement, or fucking Fall Guys or something like that, that is designed for specifically fun. I think this game there are a million ways that this game and Path of Exile could be traditionally more fun, but the ARPG provides it's a different palette that it's trying to cater to. I digress. This game's lacking that special bit. I think it can gain some traction over time. I think that they can add things that make that just a little bit more compelling. Because right now I do feel like I'm playing for the sake of playing. I'm playing because there is an absence of other quality ARPGs with live seasons that are currently very active, with active player accounts. At Path of Exile, I'll say it again. I think I just burned it a little too much, and the grind part of the game to get to the fun part is no longer worth it to me. I don't feel anything anymore when I play that game. And this game, I at least feel a little bit of fun. Somehow, despite these complaints, the game itself, and this game itself, is still very relaxed and very chill. And as far as video games go, as far as like a pastime to burn some hours, it really does hit the sweet spot in tons of ways, so many different ways. But similar to other season-based games, I'm just finding myself burning out. I burned out, and as I'm going to go to the next ARPG and play with that for a few weeks and burn out, and so on and so forth. But I do think it's worth it to make this detailed of a closeout video, because this game really has treated me very nicely. It really has. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this concept of a lack of purpose in the game and a lack of a goal, as someone who's semi-dedicated, it also means that there isn't really any FOMO in this game, and also it's kind of as try-hard as you want to make it. Because there's not any competition. I mean, there's just not enough of a presence of English-speaking people and communities surrounding them. There's not enough of that for there to even be any level of competitiveness or try-hardness. In fact, I don't want to call anybody out, but a lot of the people that I clicked on their streams, like, a couple hundred people streams that are like, oh my God, they're playing this little dinky game, Torchlight Infinite, let's pop in. And people will ask them questions in the Twitch chat, and they'll ask about builds, ask this, that, and the streamers don't know anything. They don't know anything about this game. They're not in there's not like a guild for this game. There's not, Maxroll is trying to fill, there's such a huge void that they're trying to fill. But if you go to Maxroll, it has nothing. It has a drop in the ocean as far as like what a game like this really needs to thrive. And it also has really not very good information on builds. There's so much confusion and misdirection and misinformation. You have to dig and research and put a bunch of work in to actually quote unquote optimize your build, and not only optimize your build, but even research the most meta of the meta and the top end. You need to like go to the Chinese, the Asia servers, and then you need to make an account and get to the hero ranking on the Asia servers, and then do a bunch of research in that. And like, I'm like, oh my God, like it's just not, so I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you are a try-hard person, and I consider myself semi-try-hard, semi-dedicated to these kind of ARPGs, there's no information, and there's no competition, and there's no one. There's just such a void that it makes it's like as try-hard as you want to make it. It's like none of this matters. It just doesn't matter. And as opposed to Path of Exile, where you do feel like, well, some of this does matter. It does matter. You can waste currency doing something. In this game, it's like, it just doesn't fucking matter. And I guess to close out the whole thought on this game, if you do want a PoE light, if you want a relaxed progression, a very chill, just farm up your currency, try to save up for a big item, buy some really cool, unique item, be happy about that, and then your build gets stronger, and then you just keep on pushing on. There is a it is a very chill game. If you want a little something more, you got to play Path of Exile. It's the only game in the market that does it that well. Specifically a game that has player-based currency and trading that isn't corrupted by the presence of whales, aka D2R or something like that. It feels like an authentic ARPG experience that has this online player trading, but without any of the player interaction. It cuts at it cuts at the replayability and the interest. I mean, I have dozens of builds that I've drafted. I think like, oh, if I did this character, did this hero trait, did this set of items, that could be pretty damn strong, and I don't see anyone else in hero rankings trying that. Well, I mean, I don't know if someone in the Asia server is already trying it. I don't know if it even works because the mechanics are translated from non-English. Anyways, I mean, I guess that's all I got for the recording. This has gone on a little longer than I expected, but yeah, this game's been fun, and I'm not playing it anymore. I'm gonna move on to other things. Goodbye. See y'all.